Hello everyone, my name is Georgii Kurgan. I've been a marketing manager at Ludenio for 7 years now. I started my career as a game journalist, and if you count that experience, I have been in the gaming industry for 24 years. As a teenager, I started writing some articles about games. Later, I worked, for example, at Zeptolab, the company that makes the game about the green monster. I also managed to work a little at CD Projekt in the GOG.com store. For the last 7 years at Ludenio, we've been making interesting games and various other interesting projects. In any specialty in video games, playtime is important. If you are somehow connected with production, development, or sales of games, you need to play games. You need to understand how they work. You need to understand what is trending. You need to understand the evolution, how games change. So, play games a lot. Different games, good games. There are short games, there are long games, there are narrative games, there are systemic games, there are multiplayer games, there are single-player games, there is pixel art, there is AAA, there are games for everyone. Please play games, period. A marketer can probably maximize what you already have. Games from a marketing perspective are either a feather or a stone. And it kind of doesn't depend on the marketer, it depends on the developers. If the game is a stone, you can toss it, you can push it, you can throw it as many times as you want, but it won't fly. It might bounce, but it won't fly. But if the game is a feather, you just blow on it, poke it, give direction, and it flies. Marketing will enhance a good game, but nothing will help a bad game. Well, the most difficult thing in marketing in general, and in indie game marketing in particular, is to get noticed. In this matter, you have to resort to various tricks. For example, if you need to contact a streamer, you understand that this person receives about 1 million emails a day with codes for different games offering to play them. So you are always thinking about how to make sure the person notices you. You can't just spam them with emails because you're going to end up in the spam list pretty quickly or somewhere like that. So sometimes you chat with in comments, try to interact on Twitter, things like that, not so obvious. Well, you have to do anything now, try different approaches just to get noticed. Well, there are no ready-made methods. There are no ready-made scenarios. It's all a combination of many factors, and of course, this sometimes causes frustration. You can't fully control what you're doing. I have a good example, the game Potion Craft. Everyone in indie development knows this story. They posted a nice GIF of a pestle grinding herbs in a mortar, and it just blew up on Reddit, and developers got a huge amount of attention instantly. And success stories in the gaming industry are all like this. We did something, posted something, and it all blew up. It just depends a lot on the quality of the game itself, the choice of genre, whether you manage to come up with something special or not, and the developers themselves don't know exactly if they succeeded or not, and that's the hard part. There is a very good metaphor by Chris Joukowsky, well known among indie community, that indie games are like a festival of food, a festival of anything, a festival of colorful caps. There are a lot of people offering similar products, a huge number, and it's like being at a fair. I am doing something like decorating a stand and standing with a promo poster, calling anybody to play our game. So how do you know if everything is going well? Well, there are metrics, and they are quite enigmatic. At the stage when, for example, you have already made a Steam page and it is working, a good sign is when you consistently have around 100 or more wish lists per day, even if you are doing nothing at all. It is clear that festivals or something like Steam Next Fest, sales, they all cause spikes in attention to the game. But of course, you need to look at what happens with the game if you do nothing. If you do nothing and still there is a grow in engagement, then probably you have found something. If nothing is happening, then you need to change something, or in the worst case, just release the game and start a new one. That's it. Why is everyone so obsessed with wishlists? Valve always likes to repeat that wishlists are not important, and that's true because Valve is a store, and for them, money is important. Ultimately, what matters is how much money they earn from your game. But while the game is not selling yet, they cannot estimate how much money it will bring them, even in theory. That's why there are wishlists. Wishlists are a sign of the game's potential success, how much attention it attracts, how many there are in total, how quickly they accumulate, all of this. And based on this, Valve place you or do not place you in different charts. So one of the charts is the popular upcoming games, for example. There are games that hasn't been released yet listed. If it has been released, then they look at sales, not wish lists. Now it's a new and trending chart. If the game sells a lot and quickly, it gets into this top, and this top is exposed on the main Steam page, and everyone wants to get there. Wish lists help indirectly assess the potential sales of a game, and they influence the output in Valve's algorithms during the development stage. That's why wish lists are the big thing. I have already drawn a parallel with shopping arcades or some kind of fair, and with getting to know games, you usually have the same story. You always have to think about what will happen to a person when they visit your page. What do you have? The first thing that probably catches the eye is the capsule, a small picture above the description, because it is usually bright and everyone tries to make it attractive. Then you have the trailer, then exactly 4 screenshots, because it's unclear if the person will scroll further or not, and you have a text description that maybe someone will read, but most likely they'll look at the number of reviews if the game is released. And all of this needs to be maximized and made to look appropriate to what you intended to convey the message you have in your mind. A lot of time is spent trying to organize in our minds and understand how and whom to will we show the game. Right now, we are leaning towards trying to attract more casual players with more understandable gameplay, while complex things like automation and fine-tuning your base will be for those who get to that point. At the beginning of SuperWEIRD development, everything was very frustrating. I had to come up with a target audience and positioning for a game that didn't exist. Of course, we had a document written, the so-called vision. It was a draft of what we wanted the game to be. We had a list of reference games, and I started studying them, but at the same time, it was clear that the game would evolve and could be completely different. It's very strange to look for an audience and study the audience and talk about a game that didn't exist. It was tough and strange. Now, in this sense, everything is much easier. We have identified the main key development points. It's always very useful to show and tell what you are doing right now. Because if you already have some audience, if you have somehow caught their attention, then when you show them that you are doing something, it's a sign for them that the game is alive. You can post once a month saying, "Look, I made a new sprite." Close contact with the audience is very important, and when there is nothing, you need to show, tell what you are doing, how you are doing it, share, ask for advice not only from players, but also from fellow developers who are also, in fact, potential players, because we all play games. It's important to create a sense of activity if there is nothing. And when something appears, start showing it as early as possible. SuperWEIRD is probably the first project where we tried to delve deeply into genre analytics, actually purchased various paid services, and studied a bunch of cases. There were also some marketing courses. We analyzed reviews using neural networks, looked at different analytics, compared the genres. In any case, you can't cover everything because much of the data on how Steam algorithms work is simply closed. Many data are unstructured. Different analysts have conflicting sales forecasts, and you try to guess how Steam's algorithms work, which genre will be popular this year. But in the end, you still find yourself in a space of uncertainty. You can't predict everything. You can't calculate everything. You have to come to terms with that. For me, probably the most paradoxical successful case and the best evidence that video games are magic is probably the release of the game While True Learn, probably our most successful game if you look only at Steam metrics. To be honest, I didn't expect it to take off like that because it's a puzzle about machine learning. The graphics is minimalistic, yet there are 6,000 reviews on Steam. Such things happen in the gaming industry all the time. But this is the coolest evidence that video games are magic. It is inspiring on one hand, but on the other hand, a bit discouraging, because you realize that no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you invest, in the end, either the magic happened or it didn't. That's the kind of industry we have. Magic. I'm actually a big fan of the GTA series, not so much because of all the shootings, chases, murders, and so on, but because starting from the third part up to the fifth, it was a very cool slice, a very cool parody of the American way of life and American cinema, and all this culture that was broadcasted to us through movies, series, games, and so on. It was very interesting, to the point that I first played GTA and then went to America for the first time. It looked familiar. When I arrived in New York, I realized that I roughly imagined Manhattan because I played Grand Theft Auto 4. I knew where Central Park was, where Garden or Chinatown were. I just knew it already, even though I had never been to New York before. And similarly, when I went to Los Angeles at some point to visit friends, we went to the E3 exhibition. I arrived and looked at the place. Oh, I played here. I've been here already. Cool. And I don't know what a sixth part will be like. I'm very anxious, to be honest, because many key people have left Rockstar. But overall, as the quintessence of what video games have to offer, the GTA series is really great. Besides GTA, we'll play Stardew Valley. Yeah, Stardew Valley is a game where you can spend 200 hours and get lost. I love to build something there to dig around. Recently, I played 100 hours in the game Core Keeper, and it's similar to something like Terraria. But there, the action takes place purely in a dungeon. So your main, basically, part of the gameplay is digging, just digging, excavating around you. There are different types of soil. You find something, drag it to your base. For some reason, I'm very interested in doing such things right now. I play such stuff myself. Well, Red Dead Redemption 2, a game where you can ride a horse, go hunt a rabbit, return to the saloon, eat some roast beef, take a bath, play cards with the guys, get a good night's sleep, read a newspaper. Just like that. I love games of this kind. I've also spent many hours playing Don't Starve. I really love games from Klei Entertainment. They all have a similar style, but in reality, they are all very different. Another company whose games I buy without hesitation is them, definitely. Well, Oxygen Not Included turned out to be too difficult for me, but I still played it for several dozen hours because it's fun. I have been practicing capoeira for many years, Afro-Brazilian martial art with music. It is essentially similar to chess because you don't need to knock someone out, like in boxing, but rather outplay them, outsmart them, and maybe make one strike or a sweep at just the right moment. That's capoeira. And there's music, everyone sings. Strange thing. In fact, no one really gets it, even those who are involved, but for some reason, the whole world is loving it. Also, I suddenly got into theater, participating in productions, in play readings. That's basically it. Because I have 2 children, I have little free time, I have work, I manage to do something in bits and pieces for about an hour or 2 a day, and that's already considered a big victory.